There is often talk of human rights, but it's also necessary to talk of the rights of humanity. Why should some people walk barefoot so that others can travel in luxurious cars? Why should some live for 35 years so that others can live for 70? Why should some be miserably poor so that the others can be hugely rich? I speak on behalf of the children in the world who do not have a piece of bread. I speak on the behalf of the sick who have no medicine, of those whose rights to life and human dignity have been denied. This was by Fidel Castro. This is the Constitution of Cuba. Preamble. We, the Cuban citizens, heirs and continuers of the creative work and the traditions of combativity, firmness, heroism, and sacrifice fostered by our ancestors, by the Indians who preferred extermination to submission, by the slaves who rebelled against their masters, by those who awoke the national consciousness and the ardent Cuban desire for an independent homeland and liberty, by the patrons who, in 1868, launched the wars of independence against Spanish colonialism, and those who, in the last drive of 1895, brought them to the victory of 1898. Victory usurped by the military intervention and occupation of Yankee imperialism. By the workers, peasants, students, and intellectuals who struggled for over 50 years against imperial domination, political corruption, the absence of people's rights and liberties, unemployment, and exploitation by capitalists and landowners. By those who promoted, joined, and developed the first organization of workers and peasants, spread socialist ideas, and founded the first Marxist-Leninist movements. By the members of the vanguard of the generation of the centenary of the birth of Marty, who, imbued with his teachings, led us to the people's revolutionary victory of January. By those who defended the revolution at the cost of their lives, thus contributing to its definitive consolidation. By those who, en masse, accomplished heroic internationalist missions, guided by the ideology of José Martí and the socio-political ideas of Marx, Engels, and Lenin, supported by proletarian internationalism, by the fraternal friendship, aid, cooperation, and solidarity of the peoples of the world, especially those of Latin America and the Caribbean, and have decided to carry forward the triumphant revolution of the Moncada and Granma, of the Sierra and Giron under the leadership of Fidel Castro, which, sustained by the closest unity of all revolutionary forces and of the people, won full national independence, established the revolutionary power, carried out democratic changes, started the construction of socialism, and, under the direction of the Communist Party, continues said construction with the objective of building a communist society. Aware that all the regimes of the exploitation of man by man cause the humiliation of the exploited and the degradation of the human nature of the exploiters. That only under socialism and communism, when man has been fully freed from all forms of exploitation, slavery, servitude, and capitalism, can full dignity of the human being be attained, and that our revolution uplifted the dignity of the country and of Cubans. We declare our will that the law of the laws of the Republic be guided by the following strong desire of José Martí, at last achieved. I want the fundamental law of our Republic to be the tribute of Cubans to the full dignity of man, and adopt by means of our free vote in a referendum the following Constitution. Skydiving is risky, but not having life insurance to take care of your loved ones is riskier. It means they would suffer financially if something happened to you, and that's a risk you don't have to take. Life insurance is more affordable than most people think. Click on the link below and schedule an appointment with me. I can help. Chapter 1: Political, Social, and Economic Foundations of the State. Article 1: Cuba is a socialist state of workers, independent and sovereign, organized with all and for the good of all as a united, democratic republic for the enjoyment of political freedom, social justice, individual and collective welfare, and human solidarity. Article 2: The name of the Cuban state is Republic of Cuba. The official language is Spanish, and its capital is the city of Havana. Article 3: In the Republic of Cuba, the sovereignty resides in the people, from whom all of the power of the state emanates. The power is exercised directly or through the assemblies of the people's power and the other organs of the state derived from them, in the manner and accordance of the rules established by the Constitution and the laws. All citizens have the right to fight using all means, including armed struggle, when no other recourse is possible, against anyone attempting to overthrow the political, social, and economic order established by this Constitution. Socialism and the social revolutionary political system instituted in this Constitution, proven by years of heroic resistance against all kinds of aggression, and the economic war engaged by the government of the mightiest imperialist power that has ever existed, and having demonstrated its ability to transform the country and create an entirely new and just society, shall be irrevocable, and Cuba shall never return to capitalism. Article 4: The national symbols are those that have presided for more than 100 years over the Cuban struggles for the independence of for the people's rights and for social progress. The flag with the solitary star, the Bayamo anthem, the coat of arms with the royal palm. Article 5: The Communist Party of Cuba, Marxian and of Marxist-Leninist, the organized vanguard of the Cuban nation, is the superior leading force of the society and the state, organizing and guiding the common efforts aimed at the highest goals of the construction of socialism and advancement toward the communist society. Article 6: The Union of Young Communists, an advanced organization of the Cuban youth, has the recognition and the encouragement of the state in its preeminent function of promoting the active participation of the young masses in the tasks of socialist construction and of the suitability training the youth as conscious citizens capable of assuming greater responsibilities each day for the benefit of our society. Article 7: The Cuban socialist state recognizes and encourages the mass and social organizations that have emerged in the historic process of our people's struggle, which gather in their core different sectors of the population, representing their specific interests and incorporating them into the tasks of construction, consolidation, and defense of the socialist society. Article 8: The state recognizes, respects, and guarantees religious freedom. In the Republic of Cuba, religious institutions are separate from the state. The different creeds and religions enjoy equal consideration. Article 9: The state A. implements the will of the working people and channels the efforts of the nation in the construction of socialism, maintains and defends the integrity and sovereignty of the fatherland, guarantees the freedom and full dignity of men, the enjoyment of their rights, the exercise and fulfillment of their obligations, and the total development of their personality, sustains the ideology and the norms of coexistence and of conduct typical of the society free from exploitation of man by man, protects the creative work of the people and the property and the wealth of the socialist nation, directs the national economy in a planned manner, ensures the educational, scientific, technical, and cultural advancement of the country. B. As the power of the people in the service of the people themselves, guarantees that there will be no man or woman capable of working who lacks an opportunity to obtain an employment with which he or she can contribute to the goals of society and fulfill his or her personal needs, and there will be no person incapacitated for work who lacks decent means of subsistence. There will be no ill person lacking medical attention. There will be no child lacking a school, food, and clothing. There will be no youth lacking the opportunity for study. There will be no one lacking access to study, culture, and sports. C. Works to achieve that no family lacks a comfortable home. Article 10. All the organs of the state, their directors, functionaries, and employees operate within the limits of their respective authority and are obligated to strictly observe socialist legality and to ensure respect for it in the life of the entire society. Article 11. The state exercises its sovereignty A. over the entire national territory comprised of the island of Cuba, the island of La Juventud, the other islands in the adjacent keys, the interior waters and the international seas on the expanse established by the law, and the airspace extending over these. B. Over the environment and the natural resources of the country. C. Over the natural resources, both living and non living, the waters, the beds, and the subsoil of the maritime economic zone of the Republic, on the expanse established by law according to the international practice. The Republic of Cuba repudiates and considers illegal and void any treaties, pacts, or concessions entered into under inequitable conditions or those disregarded or diminishing its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The economic, diplomatic, and political relations with any other state shall never be negotiated under the aggression, intimidation, or duress of a foreign power. Article 12. The Republic of Cuba adopts anti-imperialist and internationalist principles, and A. ratifies its aspiration for a worthy, true, and valid peace for all states, large and small, weak and powerful, based on the respect for the independence and sovereignty of peoples and the right to self-determination. B. Bases its international relations on the principles of equality of rights, free determination of peoples, territorial integrity, independence of states, international cooperation for mutual and equitable benefit and interest, peaceful settlement of controversies marked by equality and respect, and the other principles proclaimed in the United Nations Charter and in other international treaties to which Cuba is a party. C. Reaffirms its desire for integration and cooperation with the nations of Latin America and the Caribbean, whose common identity and historic need for advancing together toward political and economic integration to achieve true independence would enable us to reach the position that corresponds to us in the world. Advocates the unity of all the countries of the Third World against the imperialist and neo-colonialist policy seeking the limitation or subordination of the sovereignty of our peoples, and the aggravation of the economic conditions of exploitation and oppression in the underdeveloped nations. D. Condemns imperialism, the promoter and supporter of all fascist, colonialist, neo-colonialist, and racist manifestations as the principal force of aggression and war and the enemy of the peoples. E. Repudiates the direct or indirect intervention in the internal or external affairs of any state and, hence, armed aggression and economic blockade, as well as any other type of economic or political coercion, physical violence against persons residing in other countries, or other types of interference in and threat of the integrity of the states and the political, economic, and cultural components of the nation. F. Rejects the violation of the irrevocable and sovereign right of any state to regulate the use and benefits of the telecommunications in its territory according to the universal practice and the international conventions that it has signed. G. Categorizes categorizes the war of aggression and conquest as an international crime, recognizes the legitimacy of struggle for national liberation as well as armed resistance to aggression, and considers its internationalist obligation to support the one attacked and stand with the peoples who fight for the liberation and self-determination. H. Bases its relations with the countries building socialism on fraternal friendship, cooperation, and mutual aid, founded upon the common objective of the construction of the new society. I. Maintains relations of friendships with the sovereign countries which, possessing a differential political, social, and economic regimen, respect its sovereignty, observe the rules of coexistence among the states, adhere to the principles of mutual advantage, and adopt a reciprocal attitude with our country. Article 13. The Republic of Cuba grants asylum to those persecuted for their ideals or struggles for their democratic rights against imperialism, fascism, colonialism, and neocolonialism, against discrimination and racism, for national liberation, for the rights and demands of the workers, peasants, and students, for their progressive political, scientific, artistic, and literary activities, and for socialism and peace. Article 14. In the Republic of Cuba, the system of economy based on socialist ownership of the means of production by all the peoples prevails, and the suppression of exploitation of man by man. Also in effect is the principle of socialist distribution, from each according to his ability, to each according to his work. The law stipulates the regulations which guarantee the effective fulfillment of this principle. Article 15. The following are the socialist state property of all the people. A. The land does not belong to the farmers or cooperatives comprised of them. The subsoil, mines, natural resources, both living and non-living, within the maritime economic zone of the Republic, and the forests, waters, and routes of communication. B. The sugar mills, factories, fundamental means of transportation, and all enterprises, banks, and installations that have been nationalized and expropriated from the imperialists, large estate owners, and the bourgeoisie, as well as factories, economic installations, and scientific, social, cultural, and sports centers constructed, promoted, or acquired by the state, including those that it may construct, promote, or acquire in the future. These assets may not be transferred as property to natural or judicial persons, except in the special cases wherein the partial or total transfer of any economic end is intended for purposes of the country's development and does not affect the political, social, and economic foundations of the state, with prior approval from the Council of Ministers or its executive committee. As for the transfer of other rights or of others over such assets to state enterprises and other authorities and entities, action shall be taken in conformity with that provided in the law.
My friends, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain a little. Number one, it's free. Two, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you've ever been looking for to make a podcast in one place. Go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Article 16. The state organizes, directs, and controls the national economic activity according to a plan that guarantees the program development of the country, with the aim of strengthening the socialist system, satisfying the material and cultural needs of the society and its citizens, with constant improvement and promoting the development of the human being and his dignity, and the country's progress and security. In the preparation and execution of the programs of production and development, An active, conscious role is played by the workers in all branches of the economy and of those in the other areas of social life. Article 17. The state directly administers the assets comprising the socialist property of all of the people, or will be able to create and organize enterprises and entities to administer them, of which the structure, attributions, functions, and regime of relations are regulated by law. These enterprises and entities meet their obligations solely with their financial resources within the limitations established by the law. The state is not responsible for the obligations contracted by the enterprises, entities, or other judicial persons, nor are the latter responsible for those of the former. Article 18. The state directs and controls foreign commerce. The law establishes the state institutions and authorizes empowered to create foreign commerce enterprises, standardize and regulate export and import operations, and determine the natural or judicial persons with the legal capacity to engage in said export and import operations, and to negotiate commercial agreement. Article 19. The state recognizes the ownership by small farmers of land that legally belongs to them and of any other real estate, landed property, and movable properties that they may need for the operation in which they are engaged, in conformity with the law established. Small farmers, with prior authorization from the competent state agency, and in compliance with the other legal requirements, may incorporate their land into agricultural livestock cooperatives of production. They also may sell, exchange, or transfer it through another title to the state and no agricultural livestock production cooperatives or to small farmers in the instances, forms, and conditions that the law establishes without prejudice to the state's preferential right to its purchase through payment of its fair price. It is prohibited to engage in leasing, sharecropping, mortgage loans, and any act entailing a lien or assignment to private persons of the rights emanating from the small farmers' ownership of their land. The state supports the individual production of small farmers who contribute to the national economy. Article 20. Small farmers have the right to become associated with one another in the manner and with the requirements that the law establishes, both for purposes of agricultural livestock production and for the procurement of state loans and services. The organization of agricultural livestock production cooperatives is authorized in instances and manner that the law establishes. This cooperative ownership is recognized by the state and constitutes an advanced and efficient form of socialist production. The agricultural livestock production cooperatives administer, possesses, use, and disposes of the assets of their property in accordance with the established in the law and its regulation. The land of the cooperatives may not be seized nor taxed. Its ownership may be transferred to other cooperatives or to the state, for the reasons and according to the procedure established by law. The state provides all possible backing to this type of agricultural livestock production. Article 21. Personal ownership of the income and savings derived from the person's own work, of the housing that is possessed with a fair ownership title, and of other assets and objects that serve to satisfy the material and cultural needs of the person is guaranteed. Also guaranteed is ownership of the means and instruments of the personal or familial work, which may not be used to procure income derived from exploitation of the work of others. The law establishes the amount of personally owned assets that are seizable. Article 22. The state recognizes the ownership by political mass and social organizations of the assets allocated to their fulfillment of their objectives. Article 23. The state recognizes the property of mixed enterprises and by economic partnerships and associations that are established in conformity with the law. The use, benefit, and disposal of the assets pertaining to the equality and the equity of the aforementioned entities are governed by that established in the law and treaties, as well as by their own statutes and regulations by way they are governed. The state recognizes the right to inheritance of the individually owned housing and of the assets of personal property. The land and the other assets linked to production comprising the property of small farmers are inheritable and may be adjunctated only to their heirs who are working the land. But for the exception and according to the procedures that the law establishes, the law specifies the instances, conditions, and the manner in which assets of cooperative ownerships may be inheritable. Article 25. The exportation of assets is authorized for reasons of public utility or social interest and without due compensation. The law establishes the method for the expropriation and the basis on which the need for it and the usefulness of this action are to be determined, as well as the form of compensation, taking into account the interest and the economic and social needs of the person whose property has been expropriated. Article 26. Anybody who suffers damages or injuries unjustly caused by a state official or employee while in the performance of his public functions has the right to claim and obtain the corresponding indemnification as prescribed by law. Article 27. The state protects the environment and natural resources of the country. It recognizes their close link with the sustainable economic and social development for making human life more sensible and for ensuring the survival, welfare, and security of present and future generations. It corresponds to the competent organs to implement this policy. It is the duty of the citizens to contribute to the protection of the water and the atmosphere, and to the conservation of the soil, flora, fauna, and all of the rich potential of nature. Your journey to financial fitness begins with just one step. It can seem daunting to get all your financial ducks in a row, but the beauty of any journey is that it doesn't happen all at once. Step by step, goal by goal, do that next good thing by putting financial protection in place with life insurance. Then, no matter what happens in your financial or life journey, your loved ones will be okay financially. Take that first step today. Click on the link below and schedule an appointment with me. I can help. Chapter 2. Citizenship. Cuban citizenship is acquired by birth or through naturalization. Cuban citizens by birth are A. Those born in the national territory with the exception of the children of foreigners who are in the service of their government or of international agencies. The law establishes the requirements and formalities governing the case of children of foreigners who are not permanent residents of the country. B. Those born abroad of a Cuban father or mother who is carrying out an official mission. C. Those born abroad of a Cuban father or mother who, with prior compliance with the formalities that the law specifies. Those born outside the national territory of a father or mother who is a native of the Republic of Cuba, who has lost Cuban citizenship, provided that they claim it in the manner specified by law. D. Foreigners who, through exceptional merit achieved in the struggle for the liberation of Cuba, were considered Cuban citizens by birth. Article 30. Cuban citizens by naturalization are A. Those foreigners who acquire Cuban citizenship in accordance with the regulations that are established by law. B. Those who contributed to the armed struggle against the tyranny overthrown on January 1, 1959, provided they show proof of this in the legal established form. And C. Those who, having been arbitrarily deprived of their citizenship of origin, obtain Cuban citizenship by virtue of an express agreement of the Council of State. Article 31. Neither marriage nor its dissolution affect the citizenship status of either of the spouses or their children. Article 32. Cubans may not be deprived of their citizenship except for legally established causes, nor may they be deprived of the right to change it. Dual citizenship shall not be allowed. Consequently, when a foreign citizenship is acquired, the Cuban citizenship shall be lost. The law establishes the procedures to be followed for formalizing the loss of citizenship, and the authorities empowered to decide on it. Article 33. Cuban citizenship may be regained in those cases and ways specified by law. Chapter 3. Foreigners. Article 34. Foreigners residing in the territory of the Republic are considered equal to Cubans in the protection of their persons and assets, in the enjoyment of the rights and fulfillment of obligations recognized in this Constitution under the conditions and with the limitations that the law establishes, in the obligation to observe the Constitution and law, in the obligation to contribute to public expenditures in the manner and amount that the law establishes, in submission to the jurisdiction and decision of the tribunals of justice and authorities of the Republic. The law establishes the instances and manners in which foreigners may be expelled from the national territory, as well as the authorities empowered to make this decision. Chapter 4. The Family. Article 35. The state protects the family, motherhood, and matrimony. The state recognizes in the family the fundamental cell of the society and attributes to it essential responsibilities and functions in the education and training of the new generations. Article 36. Marriage is the voluntary established union between a man and a woman who are legally fit to marry in order to live together. It is based on full equality of rights and duties for the partners, who must see to the support of the home and the integral education of the children through a joint effort compatible with the social activities of both. The law regulates the formalization, recognition, and dissolution of marriage and the rights and obligations deriving from such acts. Article 37. All children have the same rights regardless of being born in or out of wedlock. Distinctions regarding a child's filiation are abolished. No statement shall be made either with regard to the difference in birth or the civil status of the parents in the registration of the child's birth or in any other documents that mention parenthood. The state guarantees, through adequate legal means, the determination and recognition of paternity. Article 38. The parents have the duty to provide nourishment for their children, to help them to defend their legitimate interests and in the realization of their just aspirations, and to contribute actively to their education and integral development as useful, well-developed citizens for life in a socialist society. It is the children's duty, in turn, to respect and help their parents. Chapter 5. Education and Culture. The state guides, fosters, and promotes education, culture, and sciences in all of their manifestations. In its educational and cultural policy, the state adheres to the following principles. A. Bases its educational and cultural policy on the advances of science and technology, the Marxist and Martian ideology, the Cuban progressive pedagogical tradition, and the universal one. B. Education is a function of the state and free of charge. It is based on the conclusions and contributions of science and on the closest relationship between study and life, work, and production. The state maintains an extensive system of grants for students and provides multiple facilities for study for workers, so that they may reach the highest possible levels of knowledge and skills. The law specifies the formation and structure of the national system of education, as well as the scope of compulsory schooling, and defines the basic general training that every citizen must acquire as a minimum. C. To promote the patriotic education and communist training for the new generations, and the preparation of children, young people, and adults for social life. To implement this principle, general education and specialized instruction of a scientific, technical, or artistic nature are combined with work, research for development, physical education, sports, and participation in political, social, and military training activities. Artistic creativity is free as long as its content is not contrary to the revolution. Forms of expression of art are free. In order to raise the level of culture of the people, the state will take measures to promote and develop artistic education, the vocation for the creation of artistic culture, and the capacity for its appreciation. E. Creative and investigative activity in science is free. The state encourages and facilitates research and prioritizes that which is aimed at solving the problems related to the interest of the society and the benefit of the people. F. The state fosters the workers' incorporation in scientific work and the development of science. G. The state guides, fosters, and promotes physical culture and sports in all their manifestations as a means of education and a contribution to the overall training of citizens. H. The state defends the identity of Cuban culture and oversees the conservation of the cultural heritage and the artistic and historical resources of the nation. It protects the national monuments and sites notable for their natural beauty or for their recognized artistic or historical value. I. The state promotes the participation of citizens in the implementation of its educational and cultural policy through the country's mass and social organizations. Article 40. Children and youth benefit from particular protection on the part of the state and the society. The family, the school, the state organs, and the mass and social organizations have the duty to pay special attention to the complete training of children and the youth. Chapter 5. Equality. Article 41. All citizens have equal rights and are subject to equal duties. Article 42. Discrimination based on race, color of the skin, sex, national origin, religious creed, or any other type of offending human dignity is prohibited and punished by law. The state's institutions educate all from the earliest age in the principle of the equality of human beings. Article 43. The state establishes the right, won by the revolution, of its citizens, without distinction based on race, color, sex, religious creed, national origin, or any other type of offending human dignity, to have access in keeping with their merits and abilities to all positions in state and administrative jobs and production and services, reach any rank of the Revolutionary Armed Forces and of security and internal order in keeping with their merits and ability, be given equal pay for equal work, have a right to education at all national educational institutions, ranging from elementary schools to the universities, which are all the same for all, be given medical care in all medical institutions, live in any sector, zone, or area, and stay in any hotel, be served at all restaurants and other public services establishments, use without any separations all means of transportation by sea, land, or air, enjoy the same resorts, beaches, parks, social centers, and other centers of culture, sports, recreation, and rest. Article 44. Women and men enjoy equal economic, political, cultural, social, and familial rights. The state guarantees that women will be offered the same opportunity and possibilities as men to achieve their full participation in the development of the country. The state organizes institutions such as child centers, semi-boarding and boarding schools residing for the care of the aged, and services to aid the working family in the performance of its responsibilities. Providing for their health and for a healthy offspring, the state grants working women paid maternity leave before and after childbirth, and temporary work options compatible with their maternal function. The state strives to create all the conditions that will lead to the implementation of the principle of equality. Chapter 6. Fundamental Rights and Duties and Guarantees. Article 45. Work in a socialist society is a right and a duty and a source of pride for every citizen. Work is remunerated according to its quality and quantity. When it is provided the needs of the economy and of society, the decision of the worker and his skill and ability are taken into account. This is guaranteed by the socialist economic system that facilitates social and economic development without crisis and has thus eliminated unemployment and the dead season. Non-paid voluntary work carried out for the benefit of all society in industrial, agricultural, technical, artistic, and service communities is recognized as playing an important role in the formation of our people's communist awareness. Every worker has a duty to faithfully carry out tasks corresponding to him and his job. Article 46. All those who work have the right to rest, which is guaranteed by the 8-hour workday, a weekly rest period, and annual paid vacations. The state contributes to the development of vacation plans and facilities. Article 47. By means of the Social Security system, the state assures adequate protection to every worker who is unable to work because of age, illness, or disability. If the worker dies, this protection will be extended to his family. Article 48. The state protects, by means of social aid, senior citizens lacking financial resources or anyone to take care of them, and anyone who is unable to work and has no relatives who can help him. Article 49. The state guarantees the right to protection, safety, and hygiene on the job by means of the adoption of adequate measures for the prevention of accidents at work and occupational diseases. He who suffers an accident on the job or is affected by an occupational disease has a right to medical care and to compensation or retirement in those cases in which temporary or permanent work disability ensues. Article 50. Everybody has the right to health protection and care. The state guarantees this right. By providing free medical and hospital care by means of the installations of the rural medical service networks, polyclinics, hospitals, and preventative and specialist treatment centers, by providing free dental care, by promoting the health publicity campaigns, health education, regular medical examinations, general vaccinations, and other measures to prevent the outbreak of disease. All of the population cooperates in the activities and plans through the social and mass organizations. Article 51. Everyone has the right to an education. This right is guaranteed by the free and widespread system of schools, semi-boarding and boarding schools, and scholarships of all kinds at all levels of education, and because of the fact that all educational material is provided for free, which gives all children and young people, regardless of their social, family, economic position, the opportunity to study in keeping with their ability, social demands, and the needs of socioeconomic development. Adults are also guaranteed this right, and education for them is free of charge, with the specific facilities regulated by law, by means of the Adult Education Program, technical and vocational education, training courses in state agencies and enterprises, and the advanced courses for workers.